Game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It is Friday. It is a basketball Friday here on the show. Of course, the Final Four is tomorrow. You know, I'll be locked in with my Florida Gators taking on Auburn. Houston against Duke. We'll preview those games coming up with Gilbert McGregor of Sporting News. Also, Sam McQuillan joins us from Legal Sports Report, the very latest on sports betting and some stories surrounding it as well. And, of course, we'll talk some baseball here on the show. Former big league manager Buck Showalter, no stranger to controversies going on in Major League Baseball, all the new bat stuff and teams doing well. What do we make of this first week of Major League Baseball? Buck is going to come on the show. He'll talk about that with us as well. We'll recap also some games in the NBA last night as we're getting closer to the NBA playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs also get underway. And it is a Friday, so we like to have a little fun, as they say here on the show. But let's get started here. We'll start off with, remember, the month of March was Sports Wagering Awareness Month, making sure that responsible gambling was done. And look at this story coming out of Maryland. The mayor and city council of Baltimore have filed a lawsuit against the companies that you may be most familiar with in the sports betting space. It's FanDuel and DraftKings. They believe that they're in violation of a city's consumer protection ordinance, taking aim at these two companies for what they describe as a two-pronged scheme, pretty strong words, to take advantage of Maryland sports bettors and their customers that have gambling addictions, talking about, quote, bonus bets and things of that nature, targeting people to bet more, targeting people to use bonuses. Needless to say, it's really interesting because this could be a landmark case if they end up winning. Talk a lot about responsible gaming. We'll see if this leads to more of that around the country. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Raiders made a trade recently for a new quarterback, Geno Smith. You may remember him, bounced around the league a lot and then revitalized his career in Seattle. Well, he's getting paid very handsomely in Las Vegas, 2 years, $75 million of contract incentives that could push to a total of $85.5 million and include $66.5 million in guaranteed money. Geno is now contractually tied to Las Vegas through the 2027 season. Also a new contract extension for a tight end, arguably the best in the National Football League. Trey McBride signs a 4-year, $76 million contract extension, 111 receptions, over 1,100 yards, and 2 touchdowns last season. In the NBA last night, the Golden State Warriors beat the Lakers 123-116. Steph Curry's fantastic season continues. He had 37 points and 6 assists LeBron James, 33 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 5 rebounds in the game. The Warriors are 19-2 with Steph and Jimmy both playing at the same time. Needless to say, they're heading into the playoffs with that tandem and are going to be tough to beat. After the game last night, Steve Kerr and Luka on both sides talking about that legendary showdown between Steph and LeBron.
Steph and LeBron performing again at the top level. Just what's it like to be a part of these matchups for the last 10 years now?
Pretty special to watch those guys, and watching them this summer as teammates gave me an even greater appreciation for their greatness and really how much alike they are in terms of their work ethic, passion for the game, respect for the game, and respect for each other. So these are pretty incredible matchups, and we should all savor them while they're still happening.
Their switches, and had part of this conversation before. What did you see from Golden State, and what did you feel like you guys maybe weren't doing that you then cleaned up in the second half?
I think they were playing good defense. I think we didn't play with enough trust, especially me. So that performance for me is unacceptable. When I play like that, it makes for the team harder to win. So just got to figure that out.
All right, now in the NBA last night, we may want to follow this story here because Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies had one of his best shots of the season. It was a game-winning shot in Miami against the Heat. But along the lines of that, what's going on with him on the court with these gestures that have been going on? Ja Morant has been warned, Buddy Hield has been warned about these finger gun gestures that are going on the court. Now, basically, Morant formed imaginary guns with the fingers on both hands, pointing them to the Warriors bench in a game. And then if you watched the game last night, you would probably have seen that he may have done it again against the Miami Heat. So that celebration did come back. The Grizzlies win the game 110-108, but it seems like, at least for the time being, Ja Morant ain't going to be listening to any sort of rules going on here. Hard to figure with what's going on here in the NBA. But needless to say, let's give Ja credit for the big shot. The Memphis Grizzlies beat the Miami Heat. Final score last night, 110-108. Giannis makes NBA history as well. He's the first player in NBA history to have, get this, 35 points, 17 rebounds, and 20 assists. Giannis is the third player this season to have 30 points and 20 assists in the game. Nikola Jokic, Trae Young, they are the others. The Knicks get some good news. They're going to get Jalen Brunson back this weekend as they charge toward the playoffs. They're 8-6 without him. And the Cincinnati Reds somehow have been shut out again. 29 scoreless innings. They're the first team since 1960 to lose 1-0, 3 games in a row. Yesterday, it was Nestor Cortez shutting them down. The Reds may want to grab a few torpedo bats if that seems to work. I don't know. I think this torpedo bat thing may be going away quickly. All right. Red Sox and Orioles. It was a limited slate yesterday. The Red Sox end up winning this one. Tanner Houck, 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. Rafael Devers did get a hit. Home run for Alex Bregman, his first one as a member of the Boston Red Sox. Christian Campbell, Tristan Casas also homered, and the Red Sox take the series by a final score of 8-4. After the game, Alex Cora talking about how the offense eventually will get going.
No, I mean, we will hit. It's just a matter of time. When you see Rafi getting locked in, Alex hit the ball in there to the pool side, KC, and then Casas, it's a tough group, and we hit some balls hard throughout the night. We struck out a lot too, but, overall, it was a good game. Yeah, you know what? I was watching the Rangers, and they threw 2 shutouts in Cincinnati, so let's give him credit, for what they did against us. They do a good job over there. But here, little by little, the at-bats were better. JD didn't cash in, but hit the ball hard to left center. Carlos put some good at-bats. So overall, a good one. We came here, won the series, and now we go home. And we got to play good baseball over there.
It's opening weekend in a lot of different cities. The cold weather cities played on the road last week. They're going to be back at home this week. All right, Yankees end up beating the Arizona Diamondbacks 9-7. It was not Zach Gallen, so they seemed to do well against Merrill Kelly. Aaron Judge ended up homering. He had 4 runs driven in. Jazz Chisholm's also off to a great start. He homered as well for the Yankees. And Jazz, after the game, talking about the MVP, Aaron Judge, what's left to be said at this point.
This type of great performance?
Aaron Judge. That's my answer to it. Aaron Judge,
like I said, like he's showing everybody why he's the MVP and one of the best baseball players to ever play, man. Like, think of last year, he hit, 58 or something like that, and had a bad first month. So imagine right now what he's about to do, I'm just trying to keep up.
Dad said he told you he wants to be you when he grows up. What did you answer to that?
Well, I told him I was going to catch him in stolen bases this year, so I think we're both trying to beat each other, but it's going to be a good year. We're going to go out there and continue to push each other. I think everybody in this whole clubhouse, is striving to be great, especially after last season where we weren't able to finish the job. Just guys are motivated to go out there and do something special, and it starts, every game you play. It starts in that first at-bat, and you got to do something special.
Yankees back on track. Not as much offense in a game that we expected a lot of yesterday between Colorado and Philadelphia, but it ended up being a pitcher's matchup with Antonio Senzatella and Taijuan Walker. It was Walker that threw 6 scoreless innings as the Phillies win 3-1, and they have swept the Rockies. And Philly, by the way, off to one of their best starts in franchise history. Also yesterday, the Houston Astros saw their new free agent signing come through. Christian Walker homered as the Orioles win in Minnesota. It was the Twins' first game of the season at home. Okay, well, I know it's the preview that everyone is waiting for here. We've got Bracket Central coming tomorrow here on SportsGrid, and so all of our coverage throughout the day, of course, will be covering the events in San Antonio. We got the Final Four. Florida takes on Auburn. Houston takes on Duke. Who wins these games? And it's headed to the championship on Monday night. Gilbert McGregor of Sporting News will preview them coming up next here on NewsWire. So stay with us and don't go away.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care if people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's the final weekend of college basketball here in 2025. March Madness comes to a close. We've got the Final Four this weekend. And then our next guest, Gilbert McGregor, is going to have to start handicapping the NBA playoffs because that's coming real soon here as we wrap up the regular season. But let's see if we can get some opinions on these 2 games on Saturday. Gilbert, great to have you back here on NewsWire. I've cleared my schedule out now here for Saturday. I am good to go here. I was a little nervous. I was going to be out to dinner or doing something. Snuck the dinner in tonight. I got 5 o'clock Eastern tomorrow through about 8 o'clock. After that, I don't know if I'm going to get the second game, but it is my Gators, 2.5-point favorites against the Auburn Tigers, and the total is 159.5. It's the first game of 2. Some people feel it will be the better game of two. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But do you favor Florida in this matchup, and will it come down to Walter Clayton hitting a late bucket? Boy, I hope it's not that close.
Yeah, got to be an exciting time to be a Gators fan. Hopefully, you're getting some feelings of 2006 or 2007, whichever one you pick. But, it's interesting when you have two conference foes meet again, especially on this stage. They've seen one another before. And this Florida team beat Auburn a few months ago at Auburn. And that gives me confidence that they can do it again on this neutral court in San Antonio. Auburn, I know I've been saying this all tournament. They've shown some flaws. They've been able to win despite showing those flaws. But Florida is a team who's familiar and knows how to take advantage of those flaws. So, I think it comes down to Walter Clayton, Condon making big plays as well, and the health of Janai Broome. He had that elbow injury against Michigan State last weekend, and he says he's going to be fine, but it's something to monitor. Your National Player of the Year candidate is hobbled a little bit. How's that going to impact his play? And can Florida take advantage? We've seen them in the past take advantage and find ways to win, even if it's 3 or 4 minute runs that they go on in games. I think that will be the difference in a close one on Saturday.
Yeah, Clayton's been fantastic for Florida, and he's been their closer, as we would say here. He's plus 46 when he's on the court. And I mean, the number, the 3-point shot, 45% from 3-point range. I mean, my goodness, that is incredible. He's done this all season long with the Gators. So I guess the question is, against a team like Auburn, who I believe he had a good game also the last time they played. I think they put up 90 against them, if I'm not mistaken, earlier this year. His total on the FanDuel Sportsbook, Gilbert, is 20.5 points. The threes are 3.5. And if he hits more than 3-3-pointers, that's minus 136. There's really not a ton of value there. If he knocks down 4, though, wow, you're getting 2-1 on your money here. And the thing with a guy like Clayton, it's very dangerous to bet the props, Gilbert, because you're going to be literally pulling your hair out. The guy is a second half monster. So you could be at that first half and he could have like 9 points. You're like, oh, he's not having a good game. Then all of a sudden the guy just goes off. Do you like anything there on that board?
The points, it really looks good to me there because this is a guy who we've talked about his ability to step up in big games. And we know he's going to be on the floor barring any foul trouble and the ball's going to be in his hands. He's going to have opportunities to make a lot of plays. You did mention he had 19 points the last time these two teams played. I think he also had 9 assists and 6 rebounds. So could be looking at, maybe a PRA thing, putting it together what type of game that he has. His points, rebounds, assists could be another prop to look into if there's value there because, again, the guy who has the ball in his hands a lot is going to make plays one way or another, and he's going to be on the floor for a long time because this is going to be a close game. So I like Clayton's props a lot.
All right, so Janai Broome is averaging 17 points a game, and certainly this is where I think before you make any bets, if you're interested in, I believe they have an open practice today. Not that you're going to totally learn a ton from that, but you're going to want to see something from him on the court today. Like if he's not practicing with the team or they're holding him out, at that point you're taking a big guess. So basically his number is 19.5 going into Saturday night's game. Pettiford is 14.5. And then you have Chad Baker Mazzara at 11.5 points and Denver Jones at 11.5 points as well. And so when you think about it, Broome's numbers kind of correlate with the others, Gilbert. And boy, if I knew how healthy he was and he was going to be 100%, I may just smash the 19.5 over. But if not, I think I'd smash the others. So what do you do here?
Yeah, I think you keep a close eye on how he looks at this open practice or what reporters are saying about this open practice. They're probably going to be smart and not put him in a position that's going to show any vulnerability. But at the same time, it's pretty evident if they're doing that. So I look towards Pettiford, a guy who stepped up in a lot of different ways for this team as a freshman. Baker Mazzara is a guy who will step up and take a lot of shots if Broome is not 100%. So other guys, the complementary players, based on what we can determine on Broome's health, will be the guys to keep an eye on for sure.
The 2 number 1 seeds that are on the other side of the bracket that are now all playing together in San Antonio, of course, are the Houston Cougars and Duke Blue Devils, 2 teams definitely deserving to be in this spot. Gilbert, Duke has not been challenged in this NCAA tournament. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, no team has really given them fits at all. I was shocked that Alabama didn't even show up. Everyone tells me, Gilbert, that Houston's going to here, and this is going to be the game that finally they get to see some good defensive play. As you see, the total is only 136.5. The Blue Devils are 5.5-point favorites, 5 in some other spots that I've seen. I'm just going to say this, Gilbert. Can they just keep the game? Can Houston keep the game close and keep us watching in the late second half of this game?
I said this before earlier in the week, and I'll say it again. Houston can keep it close if they make this game ugly, and the magic number for them is 75. Duke has only lost 3 times this year, and each of those games, they failed to reach 75 points. Easier said than done, but the way for Houston to do it is to slow down the pace and make the game ugly. The other teams that they've played this year, that's Duke, this tournament, Duke has kind of been in track meets. They had that 100-point game against Arizona. So if Houston can try to make Duke play their game, they have a chance. Now, get me wrong. Duke is also an elite defensive team, and they can probably welcome that type of rock fight. They just really haven't done it in this tournament yet, and that's where Houston can kind of find a way to win in this game. But again, they're going to have to match up. They're at a size disadvantage, so it's going to be difficult for them, but they can't get caught up trying to get in the track meet with Duke.
All right, finally, national championship odds. Gilbert, if you're taking my Gators to win it all, this is your moment here, because it's plus 310 right now, and if they beat Auburn, that's plus 220. Maybe even plus 200 by the time we get to Monday. Last shot to get 3-1. Would you take it?
I would take it. I picked them going into the tournament. I'm going to stand down on that. It's going to be difficult, but winning national championships is hard. So I got to stick with my initial word because I'll look good at the end.
I like that. I look good too, being a Florida Gator. All right, Gilbert. Well, enjoy the Final Four on Saturday. I know you and I will shift our focus to the NBA playoffs beginning next week. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire once again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, check out Gilbert McGregor also on sportingnews.com and on social media as well. Coming up next, we'll hear from all 4 head coaches in the Final Four: Todd Golden, Bruce Pearl, John Shire, Kelvin Sampson. So stay with us as the Sports Grid Sound Off is up next. And then Sam McQuillan will join us with his very latest story about sports betting in Maryland and the lawsuit filed against FanDuel and DraftKings. And we'll be right back.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Your spot this weekend for the NCAA tournament's Final Four is right here on SportsGrid. We got Bracket Central coming up tomorrow, and we'll cover all the games for you. Now let's hear from the head coaches who are ready to go in San Antonio. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. Two coaches who need no introduction at this point. Todd Golden of the University of Florida, Bruce Pearl at Auburn. These are two coaches that saw each other's teams a lot. They saw them last year, they've seen them this year, and now they're going to show down in the Southeastern Conference when they square off tomorrow. It is the first game of 2 in San Antonio just after 5:30, 5:15 Eastern, and then we'll get to game 2. So before we move any further, let's hear from the head coaches as they preview the other team. It's Todd Golden on Auburn and Bruce Pearl on the Gators.
And then obviously last year we had a good year, make it to the the SEC tournament championship game, but fall short in the NCAA tournament. And we felt like we needed a additional layer of toughness, physicality, experience to kind of bridge that gap for this nucleus that we had returning. Did a great job keeping our nucleus, and then obviously just the addition of Elijah, Ruben and Sam, that group. You just really finish this team. And, we have great guys that are unselfish, that enjoy playing together. I think our staff's done a good job defining roles so everybody understands what their job is to help us win. But it goes back to the players. They've been incredibly unselfish. They've allowed us to coach them. And they're very consistent. They compete every day. And, so it's been 3 years in the works, and I'm just really happy, with the success we've had.
Proud of our team for playing probably the most ambitious non-conference schedule we've ever played, and then have to go through the grind of playing in what was the best conference in college men's basketball in the history of the NCAA. And to be able to come out of that as a regular season champion was quite an accomplishment. The question then was, is there any more step up in your game? Because that's what you have to do in March. And I thought that through the Creighton, Michigan State games, we demonstrated that we had more in the tank.
And Auburn definitely a very good regular season in the Southeastern Conference, and Bruce Pearl no stranger to the SEC, of course, previously covering the University of Tennessee. All right, Duke no stranger to the Final Four. For many years, of course, decades, in fact, it was Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, coaching the Duke Blue Devils. Now John Shire has taken the reins over the last few years, has had a lot of success at Duke University. Meanwhile, Kelvin Sampson, also no stranger to the Final Four as well. But Duke is 5.5-point favorites going into this game. Can Houston slow them down? Here are the coaches.
Look, for me, year one, when I got the coaching job at Duke, you're trying to figure out who to scrimmage and what you can do. And we sought out scrimmaging Houston. And that was the respect that I had for Coach Sampson, Houston's program, what they stand for. And, to be here competing against them, it's an honor. But couldn't be more proud of our team. We're taking it all in and excited at the same time. So I'll let you guys ask any questions, but I just want to comment on Coach Sampson and his team, and just the culture that they've had is something that I looked at right away when I became the head coach. And we're ready for the challenge.
But the team this year is very much a player-led team. We have great player leadership. We have players that really care about each other and the program. And I think that's reflected on how they have handled adversity when they went on the road. So guys like L.J. Cryer and J1 Roberts, Emmanuel Sharp, JoJo Tugler, Javier Francis, Malik Wilson, Terrence Arsenault. We had all those guys back, and that really helped. A guy like Milos Uzan, and he made great progress as the year went on, and I would give a lot of credit for that to our returning players.
NCAA tournament action continues tomorrow. Now, coming up in about an hour from now, we've got Major League Baseball action. Let me give you the opening day home matchups for some of the teams. The Tigers play their first game at home at 1:10 Eastern against the Chicago White Sox. Jonathan Cannon makes his second start for the White Sox, and Jack Flaherty for Detroit. At 2:10 Eastern, it's opening day at Fenway as Walker Buehler and the Red Sox take on Eric Fetty and Louis Cardinals. And it's also opening day at home for the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. Shota Imanaga will take the mound against Randy Vasquez of the San Diego Padres. The rest of the games will be on later, right around 3 o'clock Eastern, which, by the way, is the time that Scott Farrell takes the air here on SportsGrid. Coming up next, we will be joined by Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report. Will California ever get their act together and get some sports betting? We'll see if we can get an answer to that. What an impressive debut it was for Mackenzie Gore of the Washington Nationals. He ended up having the most strikeouts of anybody thus far in a Major League Baseball game this season. Buy or sell, George? Mackenzie Gore will be a top 15 fantasy baseball pitcher this season. Top 15. Buy or sell?
You know, these questions are made up by Sam Yarnell, our producer, man behind the glass here. Who's a Washington Nationals fan here? You ever get the feeling that he just made this where you have to say buy, all right? Because top 15? Yeah, I think he'll be top 15. Come on, Sam, make it top 10. Make it a little bit more interesting. Maybe even top 5. Yeah, I think he's got the upside to be that. Once again, he is a good pitcher anyway. Once a top prospect here, you're pitching in a good pitcher's ballpark here. I think the upside is there for him to be much better than top 15. Top 5 may be pushing it, but I think he'll be inside the top 10. So, yes, I am well on board the Mackenzie Gore train.
All right, yeah, I think that I am going to buy this too, man. I don't know. He's just, and again, it's not just that one start for me. I think I have the video somewhere. I was like literally sitting behind home plate for one of his starts in Palm Beach, and I was like, wow, like this guy's stuff looks really, really good. Yeah, I'm going to buy it too. I think he's a potential Cy Young Award candidate. As George said, you're dealing with bigger markets and bigger names with LA and some of the other teams. Arizona's got some great pitchers too. But I think he's definitely in the mix. And look, do I think he's a top 2 guy? No. Do I think he's a top 15 guy? Yes. I'll buy that. As his season, I think, is going to be a special one for him.
Fantasy sports today. Weekends starting at 8 a.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Sam McQuillan is with us from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into the latest in the NCAA tournament. A lot of favorites winning, what that means for sports bettors, and also, will we ever see sports betting legalized or even come close in the state of California? Sam, welcome back here to NewsWire. Let's start off with our biggest story of the day, which emerges from the state of Maryland. We know that March was Responsible Gaming Month around the country, and it seems like we have a story percolating from this, which, by the way, you could read about over at LegalSportsReport.com. It appears that the state of Maryland, not too happy with some of the advertisements, or maybe in just saying it another way, the pushing of sports bettors onto their site, at least in their eyes.
Yeah, this lawsuit comes from actually the city of Baltimore, so separated from the state of Maryland, which legalized sports betting a few years ago, and it's been one of the biggest states where sports betting has happened. They get a lot of money there, but it comes from the city of Baltimore. The mayor, as well as the city council, filed this lawsuit yesterday, which kind of came as a surprise to pretty much the whole industry, as far as I know, alleging that FanDuel and DraftKings have been engaging in deceptive and unfair practices under the city's consumer protection ordinance. The suit targets these two sports books specifically, saying that they knowingly exploited vulnerable residents that deal with gambling disorders. It essentially outlined a two-pronged plan where they will issue bonus bets and promotions out to different users. And then the other part of the plan is collect about 186 data points about their activity, about how likely, allegedly, they are to become problem gamblers, and then how to exploit them. So this is some serious stuff. It's the first city we've ever seen file this kind of lawsuit. It's very interesting that it only targets FanDuel and DraftKings. The people who filed the suit said that that won't necessarily be the case, but you're kind of the victim of success sometimes. These are the two biggest faces in the space. They certainly dominate in Maryland like they do in the rest of the country. So they're the target of this lawsuit. Comes at a strange time. You have the Federal Safe Bet Act has been floated about in Congress a little bit, which would kind of address some of the complaints in this lawsuit, some of the use of AI to track certain aspects of how a bettor works and target them. The suit also alleges that, Flutter, which owns FanDuel, has a ton of consumer protections in the UK that they don't use in the US. And it's kind of saying, why don't you use that here? They want more protections for their constituents. It seeks undisclosed monetary value, so we don't know how much money they would really be trying to recoup for not only the practices, but also sort of back pay in doing it as well. FanDuel and DraftKings have not put out a comment yet. As far as I understand, they were caught off guard. They're still trying to figure out how to respond to this. But it's definitely big news. We'll see what happens going forward. It could lead to maybe some other cities following suit, or it could go nowhere. That's always the case with this stuff.
Yeah, and I think so. And again, it's just a matter of seeing if there's any teeth behind this sort of thing that the city of Baltimore is doing and how far they're willing to push the other way. Meanwhile, we're trying to push things going here in the state of California to get sports betting legal. We know that this is going to be a major issue in the next few years, Sam, because again, you also have the tribes involved. I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too. Any progress there?
Yeah, it's California's been one of those states that everyone's been waiting on and hoping for forever. A couple of years ago, you had the failed ballot initiatives where both sides spent over $400 million on a campaign that got about 16% of the vote, which was just embarrassing, frankly, if you're the industry. So since then, the sports books have been trying to negotiate with these tribes, and California's a really interesting case because there's over 100 tribes in the state, and they don't often come together and agree on things. So not only do you need to get to agree with the tribes, you need to get them all to agree with each other. But there was some significant progress made this week at a Indian gaming trade show in San Diego, where representatives from the Sports Betting Alliance Tribal Advisory Council, which is comprised of some key tribal members in the state, representing sports books like FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, and Fanatics, they met with tribal leaders to discuss a framework of a plan that would legalize sports betting in California. It would be fully and totally tribally owned, which is a big component here. The tribes have control of gaming, so they have basically been the roadblock to letting it happen. They won't let sports betting happen unless they have full control. So that's a big part of it. And it would also be fully commercially funded. So the $400 million that the sports books forked over on their failed ballot campaign, they would be funding all the money in this case as well, trying to get this back on the ballot, this time under an agreement with the tribes that doesn't cut them out. This was only the first step, was kind of floating this plan out there to them, but I'm told that the tribes were receptive, but the tribes are very much wanting to maintain that they want to go at their own pace. We will move when we move. We act differently. So one of the components here could be that accelerates things is prediction markets, which we've talked about a bunch.
Right.
If those are in California and essentially sports betting is happening there anyway, the tribes kind of lose some leverage there unless something happens federally, unless the state takes action, which I don't think is likely. So that could be the case of where it's pushing them more in this direction, where they then have to work with the sports books. But it would bring a lot of money to the tribes, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market conservatively, could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes, which could be life-changing for some smaller ones. They get about $1 million in federal payments right now. That could balloon to $10 million a year, which, and for the larger tribes, even way more money we're talking about here.
Yeah, you would think at some point it would happen. We're still waiting on that. All right, we got the results in from the NCAA tournament. Basically, Sam, no matter what happens the rest of the way, as we would say that this is a chalky NCAA tournament. We have all 4 number 1 seeds playing in the Final Four. Fair to say throughout the NCAA tournament, especially through basically the first weekend, not a lot of upsets and the favorites more or less winning. We know how that goes in the National Football League and in college football as well. When the favorites win, the public wins. Was that the case in this NCAA tournament as well?
Yeah, well, first of all, I remember we talked off camera, Craig, before the tournament started, and you recommended betting all underdogs. That'd be a good strategy. And normally you'd be right that normally that works. But this year, to your point, it has not. This is only the second ever time we've had a Final Four comprised of all number 1 seeds. Going into the tournament, the odds for Duke, Auburn, Houston, Florida combined were all the shortest they've ever been for any Final Four. So it's been another historic run of favorites. They went 21-0 leading up to the tournament. So it's been curious for the books to handle, different than football where typically eventually favorites will lose. In March Madness, typically the public likes to back a Cinderella, but this year there has not been a Cinderella that's really formed. So the public has just been betting on the favorites, and the favorites have been winning. It's the same case right now where Duke and Florida are drawing heavy action. They represent almost 50% of all the futures bets on the NCAA title at the sports book. So they're definitely still rooting against the favorites here. But it's been difficult, especially when you're talking about coming off of an NFL season, which was historically bad. You had 10 weeks of at least 75% or more of favorites winning, which in some cases, it cost FanDuel about $650 million. It was felt by the entire industry. So they were hoping probably for a much better March Madness. College basketball is one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest times of the year to bet for the sports books. So they're going to hope for a much better Final Four. But so far, it's been very difficult for them, kind of just weathering the storm. But this kind of thing happens in sports betting. But it is very unusual to have such of a bad NFL season followed up by what's so far shaping up to be a really bad March Madness for them as well. But when bettors win more, they tend to bet more. So the books are hoping it all eventually will shake out in their favor. If not, we could be talking about something else in a few months when we have the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs, hoping to reap a lot more money there.
Yeah, the books will be fine. I guarantee you. There's a lot more sports to bet on, and they'll keep doing it. And by the way, I'm going to double down. Remember this next year, Sam, when we hit the NCAA tournament again. All the money that you lost betting on the dogs, do it again next NCAA tournament. 2 years in a row.
I don't know if I'm going to listen to you, Craig.
You could take somebody else's advice. That's why I'm on this show and not on some of the other shows. Sam, thanks for coming on NewsWire. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Greg. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to send Sam some of my some of the money that I lost him this NCAA tournament. But because everybody is great at betting on sports. Everybody wins. Anybody you follow on social media, they all win, right? Nobody ever loses. I'm one of the losers. All right, coming up next, Buck Showalter. He's a big winner. He will join us and talk some baseball right after the break. Don't go away.
We all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
4 number ones, 4 champions. 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Feels like we've made Buck Showalter like a annual visit here on the show to get his insights on what's going on in Major League Baseball. Of course, he's been fantastic to us through the years. I personally am still waiting to get Buck back there in the dugout. I think that's going to happen again, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe we'll get Buck's thoughts on that at some point. But first, I would love his thoughts on the first 10 days or so, or 7 days or so of the Major League Baseball season. Buck, great to have you back here on the show once again. Thanks for making some time for us.
Hi, Craig. Nobody's that busy. Oh, my gosh. Let me see if I can work it in my schedule. We're not that important. But, no, it's fun talking to you guys. Hey, we're talking baseball, right? So, the season started.
Yeah, it definitely has. I love your insights on that. So, I'm very hesitant. Don Mattingly taught me a long time ago to be very careful on April. I was with Donnie for a long time with the Marlins, of course, and he would always tell me, Craig, don't go crazy out there. Don't say anything nuts because April will make you look really foolish if you throw some things out there that are not really going to be sustainable over the course of the season. So we're about a week in. Here's what I'm seeing, Buck. I'm seeing a lot of runs being scored. I'm seeing this new park in Sacramento, a lot of runs being scored there, more home runs, a lot of velocity chasing as well. I don't know if I missed anything there, but at least that's my initial thought. I generally don't see 15, 20 run games in the first week of April. I feel like there's been a lot thus far.
Well, I think 20, 30 years from now, if you're trying to project what ballparks are going to look like, you know you're being old. You know you're old when ballparks you remember as new are being torn down. That's where I am in my life. Some of them on their third, Texas on their third stadium. But I think you're going to see people cover their fields and not let the elements affect it. We all know it rains at 4 o'clock every afternoon, it seems like in Florida, so you better have a good indoor cage in Tampa. Sacramento with the elevation, I was in Utah, and, Salt Lake City's being talked about as a possible expansion or relocation, and I don't think people realize that it's not too far behind Colorado. That ballpark will be very conducive to offense, and the top 3 elevations are Colorado, Arizona, and a lot of people don't know Atlanta. That's why they call it the launching pad. So the elevation plays a lot into how you put the club together. But I think with Sacramento, it's we see all these trends. I've always gone by the adage that never judge a player in the spring or the fall. You judge them over a track record. The first thing I look at when I look at stats of a player when I think about acquiring them is I look at games played. Can they post up? Can they play? With off days and load management and all the things going on, the guys that can post up, that's what's so valuable about Lindor. He plays 155, 160 games, so you can count on it. His 90% is better than the 100% of the guy you replace him with. But it'll be interesting to see how the Dodgers and the Braves play out in the long haul. But that's what's different, Craig, is we play a sport every day for 7 or 8 months to roll the dice in October. And I think October is more of a roll of dice than ever before. But I just think that you got to trust the length of the season and play the long game while people around you in full panic mode.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I went into the season, and a lot of people were asking me, we'll go to the Dodgers here. A lot of people asking about the Dodgers, and I was a little bit effusive with it. I was like, come on, there's no super teams anymore. I know they're really good, and they're going to win 100, but in the end, they're not going to win 120 games. No one does that. 115, no one does that. I mean, Seattle had that incredible year several years ago. But Buck, I gotta tell you, man, like I'm sort of regretting that a little bit here, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But they're finding different ways to win every single night. This is as close to a super team as we have seen. I don't know that we will see one in a couple of years with the new CBA coming, which is a story for another day here. But Ohtani on Thursday, hits that walk-off shot. Their pitchers just throw 5 innings, and then they got these guys throwing sweepers and sliders at 98, 99, and they don't even need their guys to go deep into the game. Is this as close to a super baseball team as we've seen in a while? I'm a little scared to see these outcomes here.
Well, 7 games into the season, but the thing that would scare me if I was the opposition, not scared, it would make me go, wow, this may play out, is their depth. The quality GMs are always saying, what if? What if Ohtani goes down all year? What if Freeman goes down all year? We used to say, J.J. Hardy in Baltimore breaks his leg in spring training. What are we going to do? Because the season doesn't stop, and the other teams don't allow you to catch up until your player comes back. But what is challenging, because you're going to have some issues along the way, is their depth and their rotation, their bullpen. That one would get my attention. I'm like, they are so deep. They're going to be able to sustain something. There are teams that are built like that Mariner team. You remember they were built for the regular season. There's really 4 times you manage as a manager. You manage in the spring, you manage in the regular season, you manage in September baseball. That's a different cat. and then you manage in the postseason. There's 4 different approaches. And unfortunately for the opposition, I think they're a team that's going to be able to stand all 4 of those quadrants.
All right, and so Buck, now on the flip side, let's go to the Braves here, who had a pretty quiet offseason, but they did extend a bunch of their players a couple of years ago. I know they'll get back Strider and they'll get back Ronald Acuna Jr. And you certainly saw your fair share of them when you were the manager of the Mets. No teams ever made the postseason. I was shocked to see that after starting 0-7. Braves rebound, Buck, in your mind?
I wouldn't bet against them. If I was a betting man, I would bet for them. I just think they've got a nice calming influence with their manager, and a guy that's been. When I look at managers, I look at their path. The managers that have a path of experience in the minor leagues and winter ball and instructional league and different things that have actually been through the ups and downs of the season. I think Snicker does that very well, and they're going to get. The cavalry's coming there. Their catcher went out on rehab, Murphy. Mm-hmm. They're going to be okay. Nobody wants to start out 0-7 and have to answer all those questions. But if you look at the pure percentage of what part of the season 7 games is, I would not bet against them. Just like I wouldn't bet against the Dodgers sustaining a really top flight season.
All right, I would agree. Buck, always great to catch up with you. We'll look forward to catching you on the television and also, I hope, at some point back in the dugout. Thanks again for coming on.
All right, Craig. Thanks for having me. Guys, take care.
We all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
4 number ones, 4 champions. 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, getting ready to wrap up the show here for today. All right, we talked about it earlier. Ja Morant, that gun salute or whatever he did to, beat the Miami Heat last night and did earlier in the week. He was warned, was not suspended, but ESPN is now reporting he has been fined $75,000. Was it worth it? $75,000 just for putting a couple fingers in the air like a gun. I don't know. I guess these guys make so much money, it doesn't matter. For me, I would keep it in the holster, so to speak. Time now to wrap things up with some last licks. In all the years that we've been doing NewsWire here, I don't know that we've ever had a special request from Luke. Is this true? We actually had a special request to do a last lick story from our director, Luke. Okay. Listen, we take requests here. It's like, the old days of radio. You want to play a song? We play the hits. So apparently this is a new bobblehead that's going to be given out by the Seattle Mariners. They do a great job with marketing, by the way, social media, giveaways, etc. And they're giving away a Cal Raleigh bobblehead this coming season. Do you know what Cal Raleigh's nickname is? Do you know what his nickname is? Frank, did you know what his nickname was going into the week? Did you have a clue? His nickname, what's that? Sorry? He did not. Okay, he did not. Nice little TV pause there. Really gets everybody excited. The Big Dumper. Yeah. So here's the bobblehead, and do I need to say any more once I show this on your screen, your watching screen? If it's a phone, I'm sorry, maybe turn it a little sideways. If it's an iPad, you can see it clearer. If it's a TV, you can see it right there. There it is. Cal Raleigh bobblehead. This is probably not going to sell like Otani's is for like $200 on eBay, but it is pretty cool. You can probably buy one of these in the secondary market if you're a big Cal Raleigh fan or Big Dumper fan for like $50. That'd be my guess. And then if you wait like a few months, then it's like $10, $20, just the way things go. All right. Last night in the NIT, am I correct by saying this, or was it the CBI? I didn't pay any attention to these alternate tournaments. NIT final last night. Congratulations to Chattanooga. If you bet Chattanooga last night, did you even win? I think so. They beat UC Irvine 85-84 in overtime, but really the highlight was accomplished at the end of the game. If you didn't see the ending, you could go check it out online. UC Irvine essentially missed an easy shot at the end of the game to give Chattanooga the championship. Did anybody watch? We're not really sure. The NIT has certainly lost a lot of luster through the years, but I can tell you this. If the NCAA tournament championship game is anything like the NIT championship game last night, it's going to be very exciting Monday night. Hopefully so, with a couple of games tomorrow. And then, of course, the championship on Monday night. Speaking of the Final Four, it is in San Antonio, Texas. And that, of course, is the home of the San Antonio Spurs, which is also the home of Victor Wembanyama. Now, Wemby is not playing right now. He is out. He is expected to miss the rest of the season and then to come back hopefully next season. But that has really caused issues for the Spurs because they got off to a decent start. Popovich hasn't coached, etc. They lost a lot of games. They're going to be in the draft lottery. What's also fascinating is that among the 4 teams that are playing in the NCAA tournament, Duke University is using the Spurs facilities, including their locker room. And so all of a sudden, people are excited because they're saying that Cooper Flagg, who is now, of course, playing for Duke and is inside the locker room, is going to be inside the locker room maybe next year for the San Antonio Spurs. Wouldn't that be something, having Wemby and Cooper Flagg? It could be a possibility. Now, again, there's a lot of teams worse than San Antonio. I believe Utah is probably going to have one of the best shots at landing Cooper Flagg. But you know how that lottery goes. And when was the last time the Spurs had a Hall of Fame type player miss a season and then get in the lottery? Do you remember what happened? I'll tell you. David Robinson missed a full season. The Spurs ended up getting the number 1 overall pick, and they drafted Tim Duncan, and those two won several NBA championships. Maybe this is the new direction for the Spurs as well. Could it be a Cooper Flagg and Wemby conspiracy? We love conspiracies in the NBA. We also love the end of the week, and it has come. And thanks for watching all week long. Also want to remind you of what's coming up next year on SportsGrid. We got the Masters coming up next week, so get ready for our coverage there. You know, Smiley has some thoughts on that in the Valero Open, which is in its second day right now going on, and that's followed by Scott Farrell Coast to Coast, 3 o'clock Eastern. We've got some game time decisions coming your way later today, and then in-game live and Sports Rage tonight with Gabe, so stay on the grid for that. Thanks again to Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, Gilbert McGregor, and, of course, the great manager Buck Showalter for coming on the show as well. For Luke, our director, my producer Frank, I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy your weekend. By the way, for those of you who want to put a recap on the first week of baseball and fantasy baseball, in less than 16 hours, I'll be right back with you live here on SportsGrid. 8 a.m. Eastern, me and George Kurtz recap the first full week of baseball and fantasy baseball on Fantasy Sports Today. That's tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, live here on SportsGrid. See you back here Monday morning for our next edition of NewsWire. Have a great weekend, everyone. Go Gators.